Here we are at First State Lanes for the 1999 Delaware Top 20 tournament. We're starting off with the ladies. We have Michelle Johnson and Kim Walker in our first match. With me today is Edwina Toots Dempsey.
Thank you, Gary. I do have some information on the ladies. This is Michelle Johnson with the first ball. And it was a little thin, but Michelle is 35. She's married. Her husband's name is Bruce. She started to bowl in 1989. They have no children, and she is not a product of our junior program, Gary, as many of them out here today will be.
Yeah, Michelle's been bowling for a while. She bowls at Blue Hen and Brookside.
Yes. Her high series is 758. Her high game is 300, and that was a very nice spare cover.
And
she started as a child just to bowl for fun. And she accredits her husband, who coached her in all aspects of the game in order to improve her bowling. She has a couple of tournament wins. City, first place team, WWBA, that's our state association. And there's Kim with her first ball, which was an absolutely beautiful ball.
That's Kim Walker. And she's out of Brookside Bowl. She works down in Brookside. And she is our fifth place qualifier. She rolled a total of 45.60.
Kim is married, and her husband's name is Don, but he is better known as Bugger. I swore I was going to screw that up. She has 3 children. Whoops, that ball came a little high.
And she has a 7 count in her second frame.
She got interested in bowling just as a hobby. She is not a product of junior bowling either. She accredits John Racine, who is owner-manager of Brookside, I believe. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes, it is.
And he always has encouraged her. That's why she's continued. Lovely, lovely spare.
And she made the spare. I'll have Michelle Johnson up in the second frame. This is actually the 20th anniversary tournament.
The Top 20 tournament, yes.
They took 1 year break back in 1996. We came back in 1997, and this is the 3rd year in a row it's been on the air.
Michelle. Yes. Kim's high 3 is 721, and she has a high single game of 290. And she just loves the game, according to her bio here. Michelle's going to throw her first ball in the 3rd frame.
Now these bowlers, this is their 3rd day of actual competition. They started Friday night. Oh yes, I'm sure they all are.
Tired.
They started Friday night at Pleasant Hill with an 8-game block. Came back on Saturday night with another 8-game block at Price Lanes. And they just finished match play competition, another 8 games here at First State. And now they have the finals.
As much as anything. All right, very nice spare. Very nice spare. All right, now Kim Walker is up on lane number 4 to throw her first ball in the 3rd. All right. Nice follow through. Whoop, ball run a little high.
That's the second time we've seen that shot so far today.
I think the lanes on the back end, which is at the pin deck, are a little dry, I think. But I'm not the knowledgeable bowler that these young people are today. And when they're a little dry, they tend to hook a little more on the back end.
Yes, that is true. And this pair has been used before today. It's not like it has fresh oil on it.
And of course, they're bowling under pressure with the lights and the camera. This is all a new experience for some of them.
Yes,
Although
Kim Walker did make the
Kim-
finals last
yeah,
year.
she did. She finished 5th last year. All right. Whoops. All right, you got a nice break there, leaving just the 4 pin. At least, Gary, I remember what pins they are.
There you go. Now, we've had quite a few different champions over the years in this tournament.
Yes, we have.
Rita Justice is a 3-time champion. Ann McConaughey is a 4-time champion.
All right, also a very nice spare, Kim. Some of the ladies that would normally bowl in this tournament, I understand, are away at a regional tournament.
Yes, the
Pro-regional.
PWA is having a regional this
Regional
weekend,
tournament this
and the
weekend.
PBA also has a regional,
Mm-hmm.
which cut down on our entry count for the men this year. It's difficult setting up a tournament like this. There's so many tournaments around for these people to bowl
Whoa. And she got a rocking 10 pin. Rocking 10 pin.
in. Next week and last week there was a WASA tournament,
Yeah.
so we try to avoid as many as we can, but it's
I've noticed
difficult.
that a number of them, when they shoot the 10 pin, do switch bowling balls. I think they go to a bowling ball that has a little harder surface. A little
Yeah, they
harder
need a
shell.
straight down shot
They
for.
need- yeah. All right. Very nice spare. We have a nice match underway here.
Yeah, it's fairly close.
Yeah, we have a nice match going on.
Michelle's
here.
in her 5th frame. We will be taking a short break after this 5th frame to go to commercials.
Oh, that ball looked to me like she laid it a little short, but she had a nice break on the back end. A nice break, leaving just the 10 pin.
We have some new faces in the tournament this year into the TV finals.
Well, Michelle is new, is she not?
Yes, she is. She just
Yeah.
missed the cut last year.
I thought Michelle was new this year. There she is, making once again the 10 pin.
And we'll be right back with more of the Delaware Top 20 after these messages. And we are back with action at First State Lanes in the 1999 Delaware Top 20. The ladies division, Kim Walker, coming up in her 5th frame. And she leaves a 4 pin.
I remember the year that Kim started to bowl was in the Tuesday night mixed handicap league down at Brookside. She wants me to thank Guy Johnson for the transportation and for his support of her. Whoop.
Looks like she hit a little
Yeah.
patch of oil out there.
It
The ball
slid
didn't come
by.
back.
Seemed to slide by. I'm sure she'll come right back, though.
Kim Walker averaged 196 this year at Brookside.
Whoops, that ball I think got wide, but oh,
It worked though.
right. As I had indicated earlier, the back end seemed to be a little dry. The balls are finishing strong.
Michelle Johnson finished in 10th place in average. Just a little bit over 200. She averaged 200.20.
These ladies really, really do score some big numbers these days.
And
That ball also ran a little high. Just a little high.
most of the top 20 women this year came basically from 2 bowling centers. And they're both in Newark.
Yeah, I
Brookside
think
and Blue
my daughter
Hen.
Ruth is the only one.
She was
that
one of
came
the
from-
few. I think she's about the only
Bowlama.
one that bowled in the tournament that didn't come from those houses. No, Stacy Turchie, who did make the cut, bowls at First State.
First State, okay.
And a nice spare from Michelle.
Yep. And we've got the 7th frame coming up.
Tony, did you ever compete in any of the top 20 tournaments?
No.
Or were they started after you were?
Top 20 was started after I stopped, but I had competed in the top 10
Okay.
years ago. Years ago. And I believe I only competed in one, Gary. And it got to a point that, you know, age catches up to you. I now jokingly say I get there when it's my turn.
And this is the 3rd time we've seen this spare today. And she makes it.
I watched that spare a lot this afternoon. The girls' bowling balls just running just a hair high. They really have to trust them out there today.
And we have a 12-pin match. Kim has an 84 with a strike in the 6th. Michelle has a 96 in the 5th.
And we see the 10-pin again. This, unfortunately, is what happens when the bowling balls, when you swing wide and you come in a little behind that head pin. You see a lot of corners. And these people do hit the pocket a lot. And so they do shoot a lot of corner pins. And fortunately, they know how to make them.
And that frequently is what decides who does well in these kind of tournaments.
That's exactly right.
If you can hit the pocket, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to carry, so you
That's
better
correct.
fill those boxes
Fill
with
the
spares
boxes
or you're
with
in trouble.
spares. Well, it's, you know, when I was taught to bowl so many years ago, I was taught strikes take care of themselves. Spares you got to know how to make. Whoops.
And a 2-pin for Kim
All right, Kim.
in the 8th.
You can see these girls are tired out here, though. A lot of games. Particularly when they're not used to it. And none of these girls are touring pros.
Now, we took a poll a couple years ago when I first started doing the tournament after the 1-year break, and asked the bowlers what kind of tournament they wanted. And this is the format that most of them suggested. They liked the 8-game blocks. They also liked the competition in 3 different bowling centers.
Well, I think 3 different bowling centers makes a world of difference because many of these bowlers, or not many, often a bowler gets accustomed to bowling in just one center. And when you go out in this kind of competition, whether it be here or at the Nationals, you're hitting all sorts of lane conditions. And unfortunately, Michelle has an ugly split up there at the moment. And my philosophy with most splits, if you make that kind of a split, if you make it, you're lucky, but be sure of the count.
That's correct. Get whatever pins you can.
Be sure of the count. Now that really, really brought the match.
Yeah, we're within pins right now.
Yes, we are. Michelle's got 139 in the 8th, and Kim Walker is showing, without the fill, 133 in the 8th. But with the fill ball, conceivably, it could be higher. Michelle's
Speaking
left
of higher.
610. Yep.
Tony, you coached bowling for a number of years, didn't you?
Yes, I was fortunate. I loved working with the children. I started at Price Lanes many years ago, and then I went to Bowl-O-Rama, and then wound up here and tried to build a program. But unfortunately, the program never quite got off the ground up here. I think it was because we didn't have enough children who lived in the area to draw. Now the TNBA has a marvelous junior program up here, I understand.
And they also this year picked up the program
There's a
from
nice
Holiday.
ball. Yes. Well, that's
Nice ball for Kim.
unfortunate that we lost a bowling center this year. And our biggest concern is what was going to happen to those 300 children who competed there.
Yes.
But I did understand that a number of them did come here to First State.
Yeah, they picked up a nice-sized league here, and also Bolorama picked up a nice-sized league in the afternoon.
In the afternoons, well, I'm glad to hear that. Because we really were concerned about the kids, because the children are our bowlers of the future. And bowling is down all over the nation. We know that.
And we're going into the 10th frame. And we have a 4-pin lead at this point for
And
Kim.
has left herself a rather difficult spare.
And she converted.
She certainly did. She can finish out with 183, which will force Michelle
To
at
double.
least double. Mm-hmm.
A little action there.
Well, that was a nice little bit of action. Very nice.
181 for Kim.
Kim, yes.
And Michelle Johnson has her work cut out for her now. She
Yes,
has to get a
does.
double.
She needs a double. Yeah. Michelle throwing her first ball in the 10th.
And
Looks
she got the
like
first one.
She's going to try and meet the challenge. She needs the second one. Yeah. I chuckled, Gary, at the match play, the final game. Kim Walker said, "I don't believe I made it." I said, "Kim, you forgot you got 30 extra pins because you won that match." Because with the bonus pins, they do receive an extra 30 pins, and she also had thrown a 200 game.
Yes, she
So
did. Moved her
picked
right up.
41 pins in that one game. So that did move her right in, and she said, "Oh, I was ready to take my shoes off and go home." All right, she met the challenge. She certainly did.
All she needs is any kind of a fill.
Any
Basically,
kind of a
keep the
fill.
ball in the lane.
Yep,
And
very
she'll
true.
come through with a victory here in
Yeah.
our first match of the 1999 Delaware Top 20.
Yep. Just stay behind the foul line, girl. Very nice. All right.
Yeah, there,
All
a
right.
little extra
And
action.
She met the challenge. And
Struck out into the 10th.
yep, she certainly did.
189 for Michelle Johnson, 181 for Kim Walker. We'll be right back with more right after this. The second match of this year's Delaware Top 20 tournament. Michelle Johnson is going first. Ruth Ann Sydnor decided to let Michelle start. You know Ruth Ann, don't you?
Just slightly, since she's my daughter. It makes it very difficult for me to sit here and talk about my own child.
And Michelle starts off.
Started off with a toughie. A really toughie. My daughter Ruth is 38 years old. She is a product of junior bowling out of Price Lanes. She claims that she is interested in bowling because her parents started her, which is probably true. She's a member of the State Women's Hall of Fame. She was inducted last year for superior performance.
And Michelle starts off with a 9 count. And this will be Ruth Ann's first ball on TV.
Now, she's bowled in many of the top 20 tournaments, but I don't know that she's ever been on television, Gary.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
And she starts out the gate with a mighty pretty ball. Of course, you can tell I'm a little partial.
Now you know how Rita Justice felt on the first couple matches we taped in 1980 when her sons and daughter were on TV.
It isn't easy to sit here and watch and hope that you don't blow it by saying the wrong thing. Uh-oh. She dug herself a small hole that time. By the way, Gary, the first tournament that she bowled in was a top 10. She threw her first 700 in that tournament, and that was held down. The finals were at Blue Hen Lanes. That's when Len Holmquist was running the top 10 tournament.
Right.
Which then grew to be the top 20.
And that was a few years ago. Said the
Yes.
tournament started in 1979.
And whoop,
And eight.
try. But it's an open frame. Oh well.
Yeah, Ruth Ann's one of the bowlers I can remember myself from back in the 70s. She was interested in bowling and became an adult bowler. Got involved as a coach.
Yes.
And got involved in the Women's Association.
Yes, she is a director for the Wilmington Women's Association. She also was a former director of the State Women's Association.
And that's
She's
what we need
also
more of.
active in the 700 Club, which the ladies just got off the ground this past year, 18 months.
And Michelle up in her second frame with a 10-pin.
Look out.
And she slides past.
Slides by that one.
Michelle won the first match of our tournament
Yes.
with a striking out in the 10th frame.
She met the challenge.
Defeated Kim Walker in that first match. So in theory, she should have the advantage because she has won a match on TV.
That's correct.
She has a better read of the lanes than Ruth Ann does because she's bowled a whole game on them.
And she just got a nice break down there.
And I don't know if you've been following the men's tour this year,
I haven't been.
but this past weekend, of course, we're taping this in early June. This past weekend, for the first time in this season, the tournament leader actually won the tournament. It's the first time this season.
Yeah, that generally doesn't happen. Because when you're sitting in the background waiting and you only get to bowl that one game, often that is not the case.
Yeah,
Often the fourth place, the third place will come up and win your tournament often. All right.
Now, Ruth Ann likes that lane. Now
Nice
let's see
break there too.
if she can make an adjustment on lane 3.
You know, Ruth just completed bowling in her 20th national tournament this year.
Did she?
And right now, she is sitting in 22nd place in the open division in singles.
That's
She
not
was leading it
bad.
when we left, but of course it was before the Lady Pros came in. All right.
And a double for
And a
Ruth
double
Ann.
for Ruth.
She has the old classic style
Yes, she does. She's a five-stepper.
that we coached
Rita
way back in the
Justice-
70s.
Rita Justice's brother Dallas Seal taught her to bowl. I was not foolish enough to try to teach my own child.
That's a difficult, very few people have managed to do that successfully.
Very few that I know of. And
I would
the
say one
show.
of your cohorts from Price Lanes managed to do that, and that's John Thompson.
John
He did a
Thompson.
good job with his
Senior
son.
and junior, yes. Now, did junior teach the
Junior taught the third.
third also? Yeah. So we have three.
Must run in the
generations
family.
there. Yeah, I guess
But
so.
that is a rarity. Very
Yeah.
few parents
I think it's like
are able to
teaching
coach their own.
husband or wife to drive a car. That
Right.
generally is very difficult. Whoa.
Oh,
That looked like a strange mix of pins.
6'10".
That really does.
6 kind of slid over a little bit.
It
Looked like it was
certainly
trying to fall and changed its mind.
Yeah. That was a strange mix of pins there.
And she picks it up.
Picked up the spare. Very
And that
nice.
is the 5th frame. So we will be back with more right after this. We're back with action. And the 5th frame for Ruth Ann Sydnor in our second match in the 1999 Delaware Top 20 Tournament, the ladies division.
Whoop. Well.
She got 9 out of that.
Almost got back to that pin. That appeared to me as though Ruth was just a mite fast going to the foul line. She tends to get there ahead of the ball. Uh-oh.
Yeah, she said uh-oh, and,
Yep, and
we know why.
she knew why. Unfortunately, that was a spare she should not have missed.
And that opens up the gates for
It
Michelle
certainly
Johnson.
does.
Brings the match to within less than 10 pins
It does.
in the 5th frame. Ruth Ann up in her 6th.
All right, that was a better ball.
And she
Better
leaves a
ball,
5
she
pin.
leaves a 5. Yep. Much better ball.
And talking about youth bowling, I remember doing an interview with young Kermit Justice when he was, I guess, about 11. And he had gone to the professional bowling camp.
Yes.
And I asked him if he had learned anything at the camp that he hadn't learned from his mother, who, as you well know, is a professional bowler for a long time.
Long time.
And he said, no, I really didn't learn anything more. It just reinforced the fact that my mother knew what she was talking about, but I wasn't listening because she was my mother.
Exactly.
And that's one of the problems of trying to coach your own.
It's very true.
And Michelle Johnson in the 6th.
Oh, my word. I think Michelle could have easily carried that one if luck had been with her.
And that's a major part of the game.
It is.
And a lot of the bowlers, especially the youth bowlers, they don't realize that.
Very
They
true.
think every time they throw the ball in the pocket, they're going to get a strike. It doesn't happen.
Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Well, you know, Gary, someone was telling me earlier this afternoon that when I coached, we coached with an iron hand, and we were allowed
yes.
to. I don't mean that we beat the children or anything, but the parents knew that we were here to do a job.
That's correct.
And we were to teach them etiquette, discipline, and good sportsmanship.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I see so many of the young people today do not show me good sportsmanship.
No, they don't. That
I
is
remember
certainly
when I
true.
was head coach at Bolarama, the boys knew if they saw me coming, somebody was in trouble. And it was usually I would wind the season up with about a dozen baseball caps. At the end of the year, I'd give them back if they could claim the right one. But they knew they were in trouble because that was not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
I even one year threw Arnold Matea's boy out of the building for kicking equipment. He told me, well, you can't do that to me because my father owns this building. Look out, Michelle. All right.
Okay, nice spare.
Nice spare. He said, my father owns this building. And I said, well, I don't care if your father owns this building, son. He hired me to do a job. And that's exactly what I'm attempting to do. And I wound up with a formal apology from him, and he was suspended for 3 weeks. Indeed, he was. But today, I don't think the coaches have that kind of authority in the houses.
And Ruth Ann gets a strike. I tell you, one of the problems that they do have is finding coaches today. A lot of the parents are working 2 jobs, and they just don't have the time to spend.
And do they want to come in on Saturday morning and spend 2.5 or 3 hours?
That's correct. All the houses I know are seriously looking for coaches. So if anybody's out there listening,
all right.
After Ruth Ann gets her double.
And she threw it a kiss because she knew she was a little lucky.
If any bowlers out there are interested in coming out and helping on Saturday morning, contact your local bowling center, and you'll be welcomed with open arms.
It's not an easy job to work with a bunch of children every Saturday morning. It really isn't. And Gary, you've been doing it for what, 31 years now?
Yeah, I started coaching back in 1969.
Right.
And took a 3-year break and got the itch and came back into it again. I started right here, as a matter of fact, in 1969.
I started at Price Lanes. Well, let's see, my daughter says she started bowling in 71, so that must be when I started to coach. Because until then, I worked on Saturdays. All right.
And a spare
Very nice
by
spare.
Michelle. Gives her 114.
Nice match underway.
114 in the 7.
Pretty even at the moment.
And we have a slight malfunction of the lane.
Yeah.
They're trying to give her a break and play 9 no tap here. Missing a 10 pin.
Well, with the number of 10 pins that she has shot, I don't think that she would object.
I don't think so. I know I never would.
Well, being left-handed, I don't leave the 10 like I leave the 7. You could take the 7 pin out.
Yeah, she did need a break.
Very nice.
Nice strike.
Very nice. And Ruth Ann is up in the 9th.
And she has the double going for her.
Could be.
And solid strike.
Very nice strike. Very nice strike. And she has what we call a turkey, which is 3 strikes in a row.
Yeah, I believe that's the first one we've had in our tournament so far today.
Yeah, so far.
Speaking of Michelle Johnson and turkeys, last year in this tournament, she threw 4 turkeys in a row, had a 300 game at Bolorama in the qualifying last year.
All right.
And a 4-bagger for Ruth Ann.
That's frame. Yep. She's right.
And
She was looking to
she's
see
in the
what
10th.
frame she was in. She's in the 10th.
That's fine.
First time she's had 4 in a row, she said today. I think throughout the whole tournament, Ruth Ann has not had a lot of strikes.
Actually, we didn't get near the scores we did last year. Last year, we did have 3 300 games. We had 2 of them
Someone
here.
was telling me that
We
earlier.
had Anthony Caperton, who we'll see later.
I saw a number of 279s last night,
Yes, it was number 270s.
but I did not
And I think
see-
a 288 was the highest we had for the entire tournament.
Is that right?
Yeah. So last year we had 3 300s. Michelle had 1. John Longacre had 1, and Anthony Caperton had a 300 game.
Look out. All right. Only lost 1 pin.
And a 211.
211. All right. Nice game. Very pretty game.
And that's going to be enough to win the match.
Yeah.
She'll move in, continue on to roll against Kim Bowers,
Yep.
in the semifinal match.
Kim is also a product of junior bowling.
And Michelle Johnson's going to
She came
finish
out
up.
of Price Lanes, I understand.
Yes, she
Had to have
did.
been after my time, because
Yes,
I
she
don't
did.
remember Kim at Price Lanes. Well, she started bowling in 75, and I was long gone.
Yes. Yeah, Michelle Johnson finishes up 4th this year, which is an improvement over last year. So
Oh, yes.
she's moving
By
up
all
each year.
means.
Excellent
spare
shot.
Conversion. Very, very nice.
Excellent spare.
Very nice conversion. I'm glad I don't have to do this anymore, Gary. I couldn't. I have trouble bowling doubles and singles now.
I bowl one night a week. That's
Well,
good
I
enough.
bowl in 2 leagues now.
And Michelle Johnson finishes strong, 174
174.
to
Very nice.
211 for Ruth Ann. And we'll be back with our semifinal match right after these words. And we're back with the semifinal match of the 1999 Delaware Top 20 tournament. Ruth Ann Dempsey, used to be Ruth Ann Dempsey, sorry about that. Ruth Ann Sydnor has been for a few years.
Yes. They've been married for 10 years now, Gary.
And Kim Bowers, who used to be Kim Sullinger when I knew her as a junior bowler.
Yeah, she is a former junior bowler. She came out of Price Lane. She started to bowl in 1975.
Yeah, Ruth
Kim
Ann.
has an 813 series and a 300 game. She credits her parents for her interest in the game. She won your top
20 tournament? Yes, she did.
in 1996
Yes, she
and
did.
1998. Yes. And this year, I believe they had the Team World Challenge.
Yes, and they did very well,
she-
the team that she was on.
She was on the team there.
And Ruth Ann had a little problem up at the line, but she made her spare.
She has a couple of other titles to her credit also. She's won singles, doubles, and all events. And it doesn't say whether it's city or state, but I'm assuming both.
And she won quite a few titles, as did Ruth Ann as a junior bowler. Did very well. Kim last year in our championship match was between her and Trish Renshaw. They had the highest match we've ever recorded on Bowers Gazette history, 290 to 277.
Wow. There are some fancy numbers.
The highest match we had before that was two junior bowlers at Holiday. We're still waiting for the men.
Aha. She says, oh, thank you. As you see the eyes roll back in the head. Oh, thank you. I love what she wrote here, Gary. She bowls because she likes to aggravate herself.
She does a good job of that.
Yeah, she likes to aggravate herself. I love it.
I remember last year when the cameras were going off after the final match, Tricia got her 277 game. She said, what do I have to do to win this tournament?
I can understand that feeling. Indeed.
Yeah, Kim won the last tournament before the tournament took a year break. And then she came back last year for the second year that we did the TV finals, and she managed to win that after coming in, I believe, second the year before. She lost to Sue Turchin.
Is that right? And Ruth Ann covered her spare. And Ruth Ann needs to start getting a couple of strikes if she wants to give Kim a challenge.
Yeah, we're making sort of history here. The first time that the Bowers Gazette had a televised match was on lanes 3 and 4. And that was back in 1980. Here we are getting ready to turn over to 2000. And here we are, right back where we started.
Right where we started.
The previous 2 tournaments that we taped, the finals were at Price Lanes. Yeah, looks like Kim's going to try to do a little bit better than her 290 that she had last year. She's on the way.
On her way. And she is throwing one dynamite ball at the moment.
And a 10-pin will finish the set.
Kim is also one of the young bowlers who throws a different bowling ball at the 10-pin. To get it to slide further, I think, is the philosophy behind it. And it seemed to work. And Ruth does have a strike working in the third. She's now going into the fourth.
And a double here would certainly help her catch up a little bit. And she tipped the 10.
She answered that challenge. That helps. Ruth and Jay, although they've been married for 10 years, the only thing they have is a Cocker Spaniel. And a lot of stuffed animals, which they dearly love collecting.
It seems to be a big thing now, collecting the animals and the Beanie Babies. And
well, she doesn't collect
all
Beanie
that.
Babies, but she does collect the stuffed animals. She has one that has been on every single
Good
trip
shot for
with her.
Ruth Ann.
She has Littlefoot, which was from the land.
And that's the 5th frame, so guess what? We're taking a break. We'll be back right after this. Blast from the past. And we are back with action at First State Lanes, semifinal match, Delaware Top 20, 1999 version.
We have Kim Bowers bowling in the 5th frame. Oh, ball came just a little high.
You know, it's nice to see the former junior bowlers do well, and it's also nice when they give back to the program that helped them. Ruth Ann, of course, has been a coach for a number of years. The first year that we had the Delaware...
Kim works at Brookside.
She works at Brookside,
Yeah.
and the first year that we came back with the Delaware Top 20, we came up with the idea of having a Pro-Am, and Kim was very instrumental in helping us get that Youth Pro-Am started, and she really enjoyed bowling with the kids and was talking to the kids and working with them. She really enjoyed it, and the kids enjoyed it.
Well, I've
And
always
that's
been a firm
what
believer
helps.
Of giving back.
I tried to do that. I was a junior bowler at Parkway. You remember Parkway.
I learned to bowl at Parkway, Gary. We dating ourselves?
Yeah, I started in the program there in 1963 and bowled for 5 years, and then came back as a coach the next year.
Francis Kerwin Gerald started there in the junior program, who was a very, very fine bowler for a lot of years.
And Kim Bowers
Kim is back
comes
on
back with a strike. Yeah, I was a youth bowler for 5 years. And after getting out of... There wasn't too many. Actually, I still, believe it or not, I have a patch at home that I won the last year. There was a YBA program. And I have also a patch from the first year that there was an HABC program. And Ruth Ann comes back.
Ruth is coming back.
Looks like we're going to have a real high-scoring match on this one.
It looks that way, Gary. And again, it's very difficult to sit here and not be partial. I try not to show it, but it's very difficult. Since I naturally would like to see my daughter win.
And an excellent ball.
And that was a nice looking ball. Well, if they throw, I know they're tired, but if they throw strikes, they don't have to throw that extra
That's
ball.
right.
And that does help.
You want to save your energy? Throw strikes.
Throw strikes. You've got it. Whoa.
Oh, that could have been.
That could have been is correct. That was a very unlucky break for Kim Bowers. Very unlucky. I saw Kim switch equipment that time also. She might shoot most of her spares with a different bowling ball.
Yeah, I think most of these bowlers, their spare shooting, they'd rather have a straight, direct shot to the pins rather than the big hook.
In my day, we carried one bowling ball for no matter where we went.
Yes, that's true. Would you believe I'm still bowling with the same ball that I used in 1985? I think it's time for a new one.
It wouldn't hurt.
Actually, my bowling ball is older than most of the kids I coach.
Yeah. Well, I jokingly say that I threw one bowling ball for 15 years, and then I had 15 in the next 5 years. First I changed weight, then I decided it was time to go to fingertips. And Ruth Ann is up in the 8th green. I think that ball got a little wide.
She was talking to it, but it just wasn't listening.
It wasn't listening. Yeah, a little wide. We have quite a match going on here.
Ruth Ann has a 154 in the 6th. Kim has 137 in the 6th. Good match. Anything possible?
Anything is possible. Any combination thereof.
And she fills in the blank. These are 174 in the 7th. Kim Bowers, 157 in the 7th, 17 pins.
Yep. Kim has elected to finish first, so she'll bowl her 9th and 10th the next boxes.
Excellent ball by Ruth Ann.
Excellent ball.
That basically forces Kim Bowers to strike out.
Yeah, it does indeed.
194 in the 8th with a strike for Ruth Ann.
Kim is the kind of bowler that I think can meet the challenge. You never count that young lady out.
And that could have been. That could have been a strike.
Could have been.
Yeah, she definitely would have needed that and 2 more
Yeah.
to have a shot at this match.
All right.
And a spare. That gives her 177 in the 8th.
She's got a mighty respectable game coming here, but
Yeah, Kim finished in 4th place this year in the average.
standard.
It was very close.
Beautiful ball.
And a 197 in the 9th with the strike. potential 227, and we're missing the pin again on lane 3. I'm trying to give her that 9-0 tap shot.
Yes, they certainly are. Unfortunately, machinery does malfunction occasionally.
Yeah, it can do that. In our next match, which will be our championship match, Terri Bollinger will be rolling, and she was the high average bowler for the year.
Yes, she was.
She led most of the season, then she dropped to second place for about 2 or 3 weeks to Sue Turchin, and then picked it up at the end. And an 8 count for Kim Bowers, who's going to finish out here. A little disappointed.
Oh, yes. And,
216
nice
for Kim Bowers.
very nice game. Very nice game. Very nice game.
And Ruth Ann will finish out the 10th. And a good way. Good way to finish out. And one thing is now definite. Whoever wins this tournament this year will be a first-time winner.
Will be a first-time winner.
So
Be it
we'll have a
Ruth
new
Ann or be it
face.
Terri.
We'll have a new face
Yep.
in our top 20.
You know, Terri and Ruth Ann came through the junior program at the same time at Price Lane.
Yes, they did. And an excellent ball. Ruth Ann's not going to let up. She's got another whole game to go, so she figures she might as well keep herself focused through this one.
Yeah.
I've seen that a couple of times on TV where a bowler was way ahead and they just kind of eased up the last couple frames because they didn't need it, and then in the next match they get themselves into serious trouble.
Yes, they do. Nice
And a good game, 251 for Ruth Ann.
She wouldn't want me to tell you this, Gary, but when Dallas Seal taught her to bowl, he told her he wanted her to average her weight.
Well, at that age, that was a good thing.
Yeah, it was
That was a good thing. We'll be back with the championship match of our tournament right after these words. And we are at First State Lanes with the championship match, the 1999 version of the Delaware Top 20 tournament. Tournament leader, Terri Bollinger, will be starting off, and she's bowling against Ruth Ann Sydnor, who has moved her way up into the championship match. With me, Edwina Toots Dempsey.
This is a very difficult match for me to call, Gary, because I taught Terri how to bowl at Price Lanes. Her mother is here in the crowd, as she always is. I don't know what we would have done without her mother all these years. She credits her parents with her interest in bowling.
Now, they've always supported her. I can remember
Well,
that way back.
A lot of people don't know this, but Terri was right-handed. And she broke her arm when she was a junior bowler. And she was absolutely hysterical. Her mother said, "What am I going to do with her?" I said, "I'll teach her left-handed." And since I'm left-handed, that was not terribly difficult for me to. And she's a very talented young lady and never went back to learning to bowl right-handed.
Sounds a little similar to another bowler who used to be in the juniors at First State and Price Lanes, Nikki Williams. Right-handed
went away to
bowler, went to
bowling
bowling camp and came back a left-handed.
Back left-handed, yes.
And Ruth Ann starts this off with a strike.
These two young ladies came out of the junior program together at Price Lanes. Terri is 37 and Ruth is 38. Terri is married with 3 children. And she thanks her husband who allows her to come bowling because he stays home and babysits, which is really very nice. Terri has a 772 high series and a 300 high game.
And a break for Ruth Ann.
Quite a nice break. These two ladies together have absolutely marvelous personalities on the lanes. They both want to win, but win or lose, they're very supportive of each other. They always have been.
And that's nice to see. That's nice to see. Good sportsmanship
Terri went
is
with us
in.
this year to the national tournament, which was her first national. She and Ruth Ann bowled doubles together. And she is so little compared to Ruth Ann being so tall. Ruth was kidding her when we went into the back room to have the photographs done. She wanted to know if Terri wanted to stand on a chair. Yes, she did. And their pictures are really cute, even though Terri is so much shorter than Ruth. Look out. Ah, Terri. Tough one.
Okay, Terri moves over to lane 3. 27 in the second. Ruth Ann still hot. 251 last game.
Her act together.
Hit it. All right.
Nice break. Very nice break.
Now that's sportsmanship for you. When you hear Ruth Ann in the background saying hit it.
Hit it, yes.
I don't think you get that from the men. Or very few of them anyway.
Not too many of them.
They'd be going, good, 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 good.
I don't know. I would hope not.
And a spare by Terri.
Terri also works full-time. She works in customer service for API Harrow, I think it's pronounced. It's in Pennsylvania. Ruth Ann works full-time too. She works for Playtex.
And she's still hot. Ruth Ann made the top 20 from Bowl-O-Rama. I think the only woman bowler from Bowl-O-Rama to make it this year.
I think it was in that Saturday Night Mixed League that she bowled in.
And she's determined.
And running. And you can see the camaraderie between these two young ladies.
Now, Terri, I believe, did most of her bowling, does most of her bowling at Blue Hen.
She bowls a couple of legs at Blue Hen, and she also bowls in our Friday night leg at Price Lanes.
Is that the old league that came down from Silverside originally?
Silverside Lanes, yes. Yes, it did come from Silverside. And Terri got a nice strike. And Terry's coming up into the fifth frame. 47 in the third, strike working in the fourth.
I think bringing the top 20 to TV has made the tournament a little bit more exciting than it was.
I wish we had more spectators behind us today. We had a lot of spectators last night.
Yes, we did.
For the semifinals.
Yes, we did. Of course, today we're competing with NASCAR.
NASCAR, yes. Yeah, down in Dover, that's true.
And fortunately, there's 100 and some thousand people down in Dover.
I'm not out on that road.
I prefer them to be in Dover than right here, I'll tell you.
Oh, are you a race car fan, guy?
No, but I'm just glad they're down there and
we're here.
They're not here.
Okay. You know,
that's the fifth frame. That means we'll be right back with more after this. Back. Ruth Ann in the fifth frame. And you were getting ready to say? Oh. Looked like she pulled that one just a little bit.
Yes, she did. She did pull that ball a little high. She tends to get her feet a little fast. Just a little fast. I started to say, Gary, a couple of years ago, we had our women's state bowling tournament down at Midway Lanes on race car weekend. And you know, it is a rule that if you're late, you get a 0 for any frames you missed. But I think the tournament officials realized where so many bowlers were. We were sitting on 13 in traffic. When you leave over 3 hours to get from Wilmington to Dover and you're still late, it's a major problem.
Yes, it is.
So that's why the State Women's Association moved their tournament to May. And this year we just completed it down at Midway Lanes. Midway? No, not Midway. Where were we?
Strike Master.
Strike Master
Strike
Lanes.
Master. Yeah.
Strike Master Lanes. Good ball.
And another strike.
Very nice strike. Very nice strike. She's going to bite her tongue off one of these days. I don't know if they've caught any shots of her when she throws the ball. She has her tongue stuck out. And we have a malfunction again on lanes 3.
And Terri Bollinger in the 6th. Crosses
no luck,
over.
Terri. Cross over.
Leaves the 4. And at this point, Ruth Ann has a comfortable 42-point lead in our championship match. We didn't have near as many entries this year in the women's because of the regional
yes.
women's tour. So our prize money isn't quite up to its normal level.
Well, Gary, I don't think the ladies bowl in this tournament for money.
No, I don't think so. It's more the prestige of winning the top 20 tournament.
The top 20 tournament. Well, the same thing is true of any of your local state tournaments. There is no big money to be made.
No, there's not.
It's the prestige and the camaraderie of getting out there and seeing people that you don't normally see. It's quite a nice ball there.
No doubt about that one.
Terri finished first in high averages, didn't she not?
Yes, she did. She ended up with a 211.
211, yeah.
She had, from what I understand, she had a bad last month. She was up averaging over 217 for a good part of the season.
Okay. All right, Ruth Ann. I think my daughter wants to win this tournament.
Yeah, I think so.
She certainly is setting a pace.
I think she's got a good reason for winning. As her mother's in the back commentating.
I am not throwing the ball for her, Gary. She got a nice break there.
And a nice 156 in the 6th for Ruth Ann. 50 points right now, 50-point lead.
She must have a comfortable lead if she doesn't get careless. Because Terri's the kind of bowler that can come back with a big challenge.
Oh.
Like I said, if she doesn't get careless.
Well, that opens the door a little bit for Terri.
Yes, it does.
And you don't want to open that door too much.
No, because she'll slam it in your face. She will indeed. She is one tough little competitor.
And this is her 8th frame. She's on a strike.
She is working on a strike. A little high. Actually, it was a lot high. It crossed over.
It sure did. Yeah, this tournament's a lot of games for these ladies.
Yes. Well, they had 8 Friday.
8 Friday night at Pleasant Hill, 8 Saturday at Price.
Today, and now their finals. For Sherry's only bowling 1. Ruth is bowling 2 more. But it's a lot of games. There's a lot of stamina. I noticed all of them patching fingers just in case.
Oh, yes.
I don't care how good their equipment fits. When you bowl this many games, you've got to make sure that you are protected. That was a handsome ball.
Nice strike.
Handsome ball.
Ruth Ann's still in the driver's seat. She has a very comfortable lead, 38 pins. But Terry does have that foundation strike in the ninth.
Oh, yes. She does indeed. Let's see, Terry can go out with 206.
206.
206.
Whoa.
My goodness gracious.
Same shot as she left on 3.
Almost. Opened the door again.
That's where the luck comes in. That's where the luck comes in.
You got it.
That
Yes.
could have stood.
It could have
That
stood.
could have stood. It shouldn't
Very-
have. The ball wasn't that bad to start with,
Very
but it could have
easily
stood.
It could have stood. And she could be in deep trouble with sprain.
And she made the spare this time.
There.
It's one of the things I always try to teach the youth bowlers. When you get a shot like that, when you get a 10 pin the next time, it equals out a little bit.
It
but they
does.
forget that part. They always
does.
look at that 10 pin should have gone. Well, what about that?
When you
That
know,
could have stood.
I don't care how many balls you throw in the pocket. I think that they proved it in some of the lane testing, Gary, with a machine that does indeed throw the ball same speed, time after time after time, but it doesn't mean you're going to get 12 strikes.
No, it does not.
You've got to have that element of luck. You can put the ball there, but it doesn't mean they're going to go down.
And the good bowler utilizes their skill to get the luck.
Yes. And
A double for Ruth Ann.
she was counting up. She was hoping that she was going to shoot 700 for her last 3.
And
Just
here she
missed
is.
it. Yeah.
Final ball of the 10th frame. Our new top 20 champion,
It certainly
Ruth
looks
Ann
that way.
Sydnor.
All right, 233.
233.
Very nice ball. Look at this. Look at the nice
Excellent
camaraderie
game.
between these 2 young ladies. Nice job.
And there's a new member of the top 20 champion
Top 20
club.
Championship. Yep.
Terry finishing off.
She can finish out with 206. Whoops.
And a 10 pin stands. And she'll end up in second place for this year, which is certainly an improvement over last year.
Yeah. She finished first in top 20 last year, did she not, Gary?
No, she didn't make the, talking about Terry? No, she did
Oh,
not.
no.
She did not
No,
make the
no,
top 5.
I misread this. She didn't make it at all, that's right.
No, she missed the cut.
It's quite an improvement. Because this is Ruth Ann's first win.
An excellent match it was. 233 after 251.
Yes.
She must be very pleased, so must her mother.
Yeah, it looks like she's very pleased.
And Terry
Terry.
finishes with a strike and a 186.
186.
And we have a new top 20 champion, Ruth Ann Sydnor. We'll be back with more right after this.